The medical ship Healing Dawn floated in the dark space between stars like a white jewel against black cloth. The ship was huge and clean with bright lights that never flickered and walls that gleamed like fresh snow. Inside the ship, alien doctors moved quietly through long hallways carrying strange tools that hummed with power. Vexstar walked down the main corridor checking on patients from the recent battle against the Ravager fleet. His forearms moved smoothly as he worked, and his crystal skin caught the light and threw it back in rainbow colors. He had been a doctor for many years and had treated soldiers from dozens of different worlds, but today something new was coming. The communication system crackled to life and a voice announced that human transports were approaching the ship. Vexstar had heard stories about humans but had never seen one. The other doctors gathered around him, whispering nervously about these strange, new creatures that had joined the war against the Ravagers. When the first transport ship docked, Vexstar hurried to the receiving bay with his medical team. They had prepared beds and healing machines for the wounded humans just like they did for every other species. The bay doors opened with a soft hiss, and the first humans came through. What Vexstar saw made his crystal skin turn pale with shock. A human medic named Kim Jiho was carrying another human on his back. The wounded soldier was named Park Daeho, and his leg was almost completely cut off by plasma. Fire blood covered both humans, and the smell of burned flesh filled the clean air of the medical bay. But Park Daeho was not screaming or crying like other species would have done. Instead, he was talking and even making jokes. His voice was weak but steady as he said things like, "I guess I will not be running tomorrow, and this is going to make a great story." Vexstar could not understand what he was seeing. Every other species in the galaxy would have been unconscious from shock. With wounds like that, the pain should have made thinking impossible. But this human was still alert and aware. More humans came through the door, and each one shocked the alien doctors more than the last. Li Minji had terrible burns covering most of her body. The skin was black and red, and pieces were falling off, but she was giving a report about enemy positions and troop movements. Her voice never shook, even though the pain must have been beyond imagination. Choi Woo-bin had a hole in his chest where plasma had burned through his armor. One of his lungs was damaged, and he coughed up blood with every breath, but he refused to lie down. He stood against the wall, watching everything and asking questions about his squad. The alien medical team stood frozen in amazement. They had never seen anything like this before. In their experience, wounded soldiers became helpless, crying creatures who needed immediate sedation and comfort. These humans acted like their terrible wounds were just small problems to work around. Vexstar approached Park Daeho with a pain nullifier device that could eliminate all suffering instantly. The device was standard equipment used on every species in the galaxy. It worked by blocking nerve signals to the brain, making patients comfortable during treatment. But Park Daeho shook his head and said, "No thank you, doctor. I need to stay alert in case my team needs me." Vexstar stared at the human in confusion. Every other species begged for pain relief when they were injured. The idea of refusing comfort made no sense to him. He tried to explain that the device was safe and would help with healing. Jiho, the human medic, stepped forward and spoke quietly with Vexstar. He explained that humans preferred to stay conscious during medical treatment so they could help make decisions about their care. He said that pain was information that helped them understand what was wrong with their bodies. The alien doctors exchanged worried looks. They whispered to each other in their own languages, wondering if humans could actually feel pain the same way other species did. Maybe their nervous systems were different. Maybe they processed pain signals in some strange way that made suffering bearable. More wounded humans arrived on the next transport, and the medical bay filled with scenes that amazed and disturbed the alien staff. Sergeant Hen Sujin coordinated evacuation efforts while her broken ribs moved inside her chest with every breath. Each movement must have been agony, but her voice stayed calm and her orders were clear. A young human soldier named Yoon Haesu had shrapnel embedded in his stomach and was losing blood fast, but he kept asking about ammunition supplies and defensive positions. Another human with a broken arm was using his good hand to help carry other wounded soldiers. The alien nurses, who usually worked calmly and efficiently, found themselves staring in shock instead of helping. They could not understand how to treat patients who refused sedation and kept trying to get up and walk around. The entire medical bay fell into chaos as alien procedures failed to work on human patients. Dr. Kelrin, the chief medical officer of the ship, arrived to see what was causing the commotion. He was a tall, thin alien with gray skin and large eyes that could see in many different kinds of light. He had been a doctor for over 200 years and had never encountered anything like this. He watched as human medic Sunwoo calmly treated a soldier with severe burns using techniques that looked primitive compared to alien technology. Sunwoo used simple bandages and chemical treatments, while the aliens had machines that could regrow skin in minutes, but the human methods worked. The patients stayed conscious and functional, while alien treatments often required long periods of unconsciousness and recovery. The humans seemed to prefer quick, rough treatments that got them back into action fast. Vextar found himself studying the humans with growing fascination. Their bodies were not that different from other species. They had the same basic structure with bones and muscles and organs that worked in familiar ways, but their minds seemed to work completely differently. When a human was injured, they did not become helpless victims waiting for rescue. Instead, they became even more focused and determined. They turned their pain into anger and used their wounds as motivation to keep fighting. This was completely opposite to every other species the aliens had encountered. The medical bay slowly adapted to accommodate human patients. The aliens learned to work around conscious patients who gave constant feedback about their treatment. They discovered that humans actually healed faster when they stayed awake and active compared to other species who needed rest and quiet. As the day went on, Vextar realized that he was witnessing something completely new in the galaxy. The humans were not just different, they were revolutionary. Their approach to injury and pain challenged everything the aliens thought they knew about medicine and survival. By the end of the day, Vextar had made a decision. He approached his superior officers and requested permission to study human physiology and psychology. He wanted to understand how evolution had created creatures that could function normally with injuries that would kill or disable any other known species. The request was granted, and Vextar began preparing for an investigation that would change everything he thought he knew about medicine, pain, and the nature of intelligent life. The humans had brought more than just new soldiers to the war against the Ravagers. They had brought a completely different way of thinking about survival itself. 3 days after the first human patients arrived, Vextar thought he was beginning to understand these strange new allies. Then human field medic Sunwoo walked into the medical bay carrying equipment that made every alien doctor step back in. Sunwoo moved quickly through the clean white corridors with a metal case in his hands. His uniform was dirty from the battlefield, and he had the focused look that humans got when they were solving problems. The case made soft clinking sounds. As the metal tools inside moved around, he stopped at the bed where soldier Yoon Hyunsu was lying down. Hyunsu had been wounded in a skirmish with Ravager scouts 2 days ago. His wounds had been treated with alien healing gel, but something was wrong. Green lines were spreading up his arm from the injury site, and his skin felt hot to the touch. Vextar approached to help, but Sunwoo was already opening his metal case. Inside were tools that looked like torture devices from ancient history. There were metal rods with handles, sharp blades, and small containers filled with chemical powders. The most frightening tool was a device that could heat metal until it glowed like a small sun. The alien medical staff gathered around to watch as Sunwoo examined Hyunsu's infected wounds. He poked at the green streaks with a small knife and nodded grimly, then looked up at the watching alien's eye. "Need to cauterize the infection," he said in the calm voice that humans used when they were about to do something terrible. "It is spreading too fast for your healing gel to stop it." Vextar felt his crystal skin turn cold. Cauterization was something from medical history books. It was what primitive species did before they developed proper medicine. The idea of deliberately burning living tissue was horrifying to every civilized doctor in the galaxy. Nurse Beidel, who looked like a floating jellyfish with soft glowing tentacles, made a sound of distress. She had never seen such barbaric medical practices, and her tentacles curled up in fear. Dr. Kelrin stepped forward and tried to stop Sunwoo. "Have advanced regeneration therapy," he said in his most authoritative voice. "There is no need for such primitive methods. Our technology can heal any infection without causing additional trauma." Sunwoo listened politely but continued preparing his tools. He heated the cauterization device until it glowed orange like a piece of metal from a forge. The smell of hot metal filled the medical bay. And several alien nurses moved away from the bed. Your regeneration therapy is very good, Sun Wu said, but it works slowly. This infection will reach his heart before your machines can stop it. Sometimes fast and rough is better than slow and gentle. Hyansu, who had been listening to the conversation, reached out and patted Sun Wu's arm. Go ahead, Doc, he said with a weak smile. I trust you more than I trust those fancy alien gadgets. Just get it done quick so I can get back to my unit. The alien doctors could not believe what they were hearing. The patient was actually asking for the barbaric treatment. They gathered closer to watch, wondering if they were about to witness some kind of human religious ceremony or punishment ritual. Sun Wu pressed the glowing hot metal against the infected tissue on Hyansu's arm. The sound was terrible, like meat cooking on a fire. The smell of burning flesh mixed with the clean air of the medical bay and made several aliens leave the room completely. But what shocked the aliens most was not the procedure itself. It was how the humans reacted to Hyansu. Gritted his teeth and his hands clenched into fists, but he did not scream or beg for mercy. Instead, he started talking about tactical situations and asking questions about enemy positions. His voice stayed steady even as smoke rose from his burning flesh. Sun Wu worked with calm concentration, like he was performing routine maintenance on equipment. He moved the hot metal carefully, making sure to burn away all the infected tissue while explaining what he was doing to the horrified alien observers. The infection has to be completely removed, he said as he worked. If we leave any infected cells, they will multiply and spread again. Your healing technology is amazing, but it cannot tell the difference between healthy tissue and infected tissue. This way we remove the problem completely. Dr. Kelrin argued that such methods had no place in modern medicine. He said that causing additional trauma to patients was cruel and unnecessary, but Sun Wu demonstrated that his burning treatment was actually working faster than the alien regeneration therapy. More human casualties arrived during the procedure, and Sun Wu had to stop his work. To help with triage, he moved between patients, checking wounds and making decisions about treatment priorities. The aliens watched as he used his primitive tools to achieve results that their advanced equipment struggled to match. One human soldier had a plasma burn that was resistant to alien healing gel. Sun Wu cleaned the wound with a chemical solution that made the patient's eyes water but killed the infection instantly. Another soldier had shrapnel embedded too deep for alien extraction tools, but Sun Wu removed it with simple metal instruments and steady hands. The alien medical staff found themselves learning despite their horror. They watched as Sun Wu's rough methods produced results that were effective if not comfortable. His patients healed faster and returned to duty sooner than those treated with gentle alien procedure. Special. The jellyfish nurse overcame her fear and started asking questions about human medical techniques. She wanted to understand why humans chose pain over comfort and quick results over perfect healing. Sun Wu explained patiently while he worked human medicine developed on battlefields. He said, "We did not have the luxury of perfect conditions or unlimited time. Our techniques had to work fast and work every time, even when everything else was going wrong." The aliens began to realize that human medical practices were not primitive or cruel. They were highly specialized tools designed for specific situations where speed and reliability mattered more than patient comfort. It was like comparing a delicate scientific instrument to a sturdy hammer. Both were perfect for their intended purposes. When Sun Wu finished treating Hyansu, the infection was completely gone. The burned tissue looked terrible, but it was clean and healthy underneath. The soldier was able to sit up and move his arm normally, something that would have taken days with alien healing methods. Vexstar examined the results with his instruments and had to admit that the human approach had worked better than expected. The cauterized tissue was healing rapidly, and there were no signs of remaining infection. The rough treatment had saved time and possibly saved the patient's life. Other human medics arrived throughout the day, and each one carried similar equipment. The medical bay filled with the sounds and smells of human battlefield medicine. Chemical solutions that burned away infections, metal tools that removed damaged tissue quickly, and heat treatments that sealed wounds instantly. The alien staff slowly adapted to working alongside human medics. They learned to prepare for procedures that looked like torture, but produced excellent results. They discovered that human patients actually preferred quick, painful treatments to slow, comfortable ones because it got them back to their duties faster. By the end of the day, the medical bay had become a strange hybrid of advanced alien technology and primitive human techniques. The two approaches worked together, creating treatment options that neither species could achieve. Alonavexter found himself fascinated by the human approach to medicine. They had turned necessity into innovation, developing techniques that worked under the worst possible conditions. Their methods might look brutal, but they were precisely designed to save lives when gentler approaches would fail. The burning treatment had shocked every alien doctor on the ship, but it had also opened their minds to new possibilities. They began to understand that there was more than one way to heal, and that sometimes the fastest path to recovery required traveling through pain rather than around it. The peace on the medical ship lasted exactly 6 days, then the alarms started screaming through every corridor and chamber. Red lights flashed on the walls, and the ship's computer announced in multiple languages that enemy vessels were approaching. Fast the Ravagers had found them. Vexstar was checking on patients when the first alarm sounded. He expected the wounded to panic like patients from other species always did when combat threatened. Instead, he watched something that made his crystal skin shimmer with amazement. The human patients did not become afraid, they became angry. Captain Nam Jain had been recovering from spine surgery for 3 days. The alien doctors had removed metal fragments from his back, and he was supposed to stay in bed for another week, but when the alarm sounded, he rolled off his medical bed and started shouting orders all mobile personnel to defensive positions. He called out while pulling medical tubes from his arms. The aliens tried to stop him, but he pushed past them with strength that should have been impossible for someone with fresh surgical wounds. Li Minji was still wrapped in burn treatment bandages, but she was already moving toward the equipment lockers. Her burns covered 30% of her body and should have kept her unconscious for days. Instead, she was coordinating with other wounded humans to set up defensive positions. The alien medical staff watched in shock as their quiet, peaceful medical bay transformed into a military fortress. Humans who had been lying in beds minutes before were now moving with purpose and determination. Their wounds seemed to make them more dangerous rather than less. Soldier Kang Sojin had one arm in a regeneration sleeve that was rebuilding her damaged muscles, but she was using her good arm to assemble weapons from medical equipment. A surgical laser became a precision rifle in her hands, and she tested its power settings with professional skill. Vexstar tried to convince the humans to return to their beds. He explained that the ship had shields and defensive systems that would protect them. The medical bay was supposed to be a safe zone where patients could recover in peace, but the humans had different ideas about safety. "We make our own safety," said Choi Woo-bin, who was supposed to be unconscious from lung surgery. Instead, he was helping other wounded soldiers set up barricades. Using medical equipment, the emergency bulkheads became cover positions, and the clean white corridors became shooting lanes. The aliens had never seen anything like this before. When other species were wounded, they became helpless and needed protection. But wounded humans became more focused and determined. They turned their medical bay into a weapons factory, using tools and equipment in ways the aliens never imagined. Dr. Kelrin tried to maintain order by following standard medical protocols. He activated the emergency systems that would put all patients into protective stasis until the danger passed. This was how civilized species handled combat threats, but the humans refused to enter stasis. They said they needed to stay awake and ready to fight. The idea of sleeping while enemies approached was completely foreign to them. They would rather die fighting than live hiding. The first Ravager boarding pods hit the ship's hull with sounds like thunder. The aliens prepared to surrender. According to galactic medical conventions, medical facilities were supposed to be neutral zones that both sides respected. The humans laughed at this idea and started shooting Yoon Hyunsu, whose arm had been cauterized just days before, was now using that same arm to operate a heavy weapon he had built from surgical equipment. The burn scars did not slow him down, they seemed to give him strength. The Ravagers broke through the hull, expecting to find helpless medical personnel and wounded patients. Instead, they found humans who had turned a healing center into a death trap. Every piece of medical equipment had become a weapon, and every wounded human had become a soldier. The battle was unlike anything the aliens had ever witnessed. Humans with broken bones used their injuries as advantages. A soldier with a broken leg became an immobile sniper who could not be moved from his perfect shooting position. Burn victims used their bandages to blend with the white walls and ambush. Enemy's Sergeant Han So-jin coordinated the defense while her broken ribs moved inside her chest. With every breath she should have been unconscious from pain, but instead she was calling out enemy positions and directing fire with military precision. The Ravagers had expected easy targets but found themselves fighting enemies who became more dangerous when wounded. The humans fought with a fury that the aliens had never seen before, turning their medical bay into a battlefield that favored defenders. Vexstar found himself hiding behind a barricade built from medical beds. While humans with terrible injuries fought around him, he watched Lee Minji, who was still covered in burn bandages, throw improvised explosives made from medical chemicals. Her accuracy was perfect despite the pain she must have been feeling. The aliens slowly began to understand that human medicine was not just about healing, it was about keeping warriors in the fight. Human medical techniques were designed to maintain combat effectiveness even with severe injuries. This was completely different from alien medicine, which focused on comfort and complete recovery. When a Ravager soldier broke through their defensive line, it was Oh Sun-woo, the human medic, who stopped the attack. He used a surgical tool as a weapon, striking with precision. That came from years of medical training. His knowledge of anatomy made him a deadly fighter. Battle lasted for hours, but the humans never seemed to get tired. Their wounds should have weakened them, but instead seemed to fuel their determination. They fought like creatures who had evolved for war, and pain was just another tactical consideration. By the time reinforcements arrived to drive off the Ravager attack, the medical bay looked like a battlefield. The clean white walls were scorched, and broken medical equipment was scattered everywhere. But every human was still fighting. The alien medical staff emerged from their hiding places to find wounded humans already organizing repair efforts. They were treating new injuries while planning defensive improvements in case of another attack. Their resilience was beyond anything the aliens could comprehend. Vexter realized that he had witnessed something extraordinary. The humans had not just survived the attack, they had turned it into a victory. Their ability to fight while wounded was not just impressive, it was revolutionary. The medical bay slowly returned to normal, but nothing would ever be the same. The aliens had learned that human medicine was designed for war, and that wounded humans were still dangerous enemies. The peaceful healing center had become a fortress, and the patients had become its guardians. Captain Namjane finally agreed to return to his bed, but only after posting guard schedules and defensive plans. The other humans followed his example, treating their recovery as just another mission to complete successfully. The aliens found themselves with new respect for human medical practices. They began to understand that the brutal efficiency of human medicine was not cruelty but necessity. Every technique was designed to keep warriors fighting when gentler methods would leave them helpless. As the ship moved to a safer location, Vexstar started planning new research into human psychology and culture. He wanted to understand how evolution had created a species that viewed wounds as temporary obstacles rather than permanent disabilities. The battle had shown him that humans were not just different, they were revolutionary. Their approach to injury and recovery challenged every assumption about medicine and survival. The aliens had much to learn from these strange new allies who turned suffering into strength. After the Ravager attack, Vexstar spent every free moment trying to understand the humans. He had watched them fight with terrible wounds, and now he needed to know how such creatures had evolved. The medical bay had returned to normal operations, but nothing felt the same anymore. He approached human medic Lim Chae-young, who was treating soldiers injured in the recent battle. She worked with the same calm efficiency that all human medics showed, moving between patients and making quick decisions about treatment priorities. "Can you explain something to me?" Vexstar asked as Chang-young bandaged a soldier's arm. "Why do humans prefer painful treatments when we have technology that eliminates suffering?" Completely Kang finished her work before answering. She had learned that aliens needed time to process new ideas, and she was patient with their questions. Her answer would change how Vexstar thought about medicine forever. "We develop differently than your species," she said while organizing Her medical supplies human medicine evolved on battlefields where perfect conditions never existed. We had to create treatments that worked when everything was going wrong. She showed Vexstar images on her portable computer, pictures of human history that explained everything, wars and disasters and struggles for survival that lasted for thousands of years. Every human medical technique had been tested in the worst possible conditions. Your species were protected by older civilizations. Che Yung continued, you never had to develop harsh medicine because you always had help when you needed it. Humans evolved alone. We had to solve every problem ourselves or die trying. Vexter studied the images with growing understanding. Humans had faced extinction many times in their history. Each crisis had forced them to develop new survival techniques. They became experts at functioning with injuries because the alternative was death. Keyong demonstrated human medical training showing how medics learned to work quickly and efficiently without perfect equipment. She explained that human doctors practiced treating patients in terrible conditions because that was where they would be needed most. A wounded soldier named Bei Minho arrived with infections that resisted alien healing technology. The Ravager biotoxins were designed to destroy advanced medical treatments, but human techniques worked differently. Cheung used what the aliens considered primitive methods to neutralize toxins that their machines could not handle. She mixed chemical solutions by hand using knowledge passed down through generations of human medics. The treatments looked crude compared to alien technology, but they worked where advanced methods failed. This was the difference between evolution under protection and evolution under pressure. Dr. Kelran joined the discussion, bringing other alien medics with him. They wanted to understand why human medicine seemed to work better in crisis situations. Their own medical training had always assumed perfect conditions and unlimited resource. Chang explained that human medics trained for the worst-case scenario first. They learned to treat patients in darkness without power or proper equipment. They practiced surgery while being shot at and developed techniques that worked when everything else failed. The aliens listened with growing amazement as they learned about human medical history. Battlefield surgeries performed without anesthesia, because keeping the patient conscious was more important than keeping them comfortable. Combat medics who treated wounds while under enemy fire because waiting for safety meant letting people die. Every human medical technique served a purpose that aliens had never considered. Speed was more important than perfection because delays could be fatal. Maintaining consciousness was better than eliminating pain because aware patients could help with their own treatment. Vexter began to understand that the burning treatment was just one example of human innovation. Humans had developed dozens of harsh but effective techniques. Because they could not rely on advanced technology or safe environments, their medicine was designed for survival, not comfort. The philosophical discussion deepened when Beidel, the jellyfish nurse, asked about human attitudes towards scars and permanent injuries. Most alien species use technology to eliminate all evidence of past trauma, returning patients to perfect original condition, but humans were different. They kept their scars as proof of survival and experience. A scarred human soldier commanded respect because everyone knew they had faced danger and lived through it. The marks were badges of honor rather than signs of failure. This confused the aliens who believed that perfect healing was always the goal. Why would anyone choose to keep evidence of past injuries when technology could eliminate them? Completely. Kang showed them pictures of famous human warriors throughout history. Each one carried scars that told stories of battles won and enemies defeated. The marks were part of their identity, and removing them would have been like erasing their history. The aliens slowly realized that human medicine was not just about fixing broken bodies, it was about maintaining the warrior spirit that had allowed humans to survive extinction. Events that would have destroyed other species had only made humans stronger and more determined. Vextar discovered that every alien species in the galactic community had developed under similar conditions. They had all been discovered and protected by older, more advanced civilizations before they could face extinction-level threats. This protection had shaped their medicine and culture. Humans were the first species the aliens had encountered that evolved in complete isolation. They had faced every challenge alone and developed solutions that no other species needed. The brutal effectiveness of human medicine was the result of thousands of years of desperate innovation. The conversation continued for hours as alien medics asked questions about human techniques. They wanted to understand how pain could be turned into motivation and how injuries could become advantages rather than disability shaying. Patiently explained that human cruelty in medical treatment was actually compassion. The willingness to inflict necessary pain to preserve life and function was an act of love, not hatred. Quick, brutal treatments were often kinder than slow, gentle methods that prolong suffering. The aliens found this concept difficult to accept, but they could not argue with the results. Human patients recovered faster, returned to duty sooner, and maintained better morale throughout treatment. They seemed to prefer medical procedures that challenged them rather than pampered them. As the discussion ended, Vextar felt like his understanding of medicine had been completely rebuilt. Everything he thought he knew about healing and recovery had been challenged by human examples. Their approach was not wrong or primitive, it was simply designed for different conditions. The other alien medics left the conversation with similar feelings. They had encountered a completely different philosophy of medicine and survival, one that challenged their assumptions about what it meant to heal and help others. Vextar spent the rest of the day reviewing human medical techniques with new understanding. Each harsh method now made sense as a solution to specific problems. Every painful procedure was actually an elegant response to conditions where gentler methods would fail. He began to see that the galaxy needed both approaches. Alien medicine worked perfectly in safe, controlled environments, but human medicine was essential when everything went wrong. Together, they could create medical systems that worked under any conditions. The wounded humans in the medical bay became his teachers as he learned to see their techniques through new eyes. Their stoicism was not indifference to pain, but disciplined acceptance of necessary suffering. Their quick treatments were not rushed, but precisely calculated for maximum effectiveness. By the end of the day, Vextar had requested permission to establish a formal exchange program. He wanted alien medics to learn human techniques while humans studied alien technology. The combination could revolutionize medicine throughout the galaxy. The request was approved and preparations began for the first interspecies medical training program in galactic history. Two completely different approaches to healing would be combined into something greater than either could achieve alone. The first interspecies medical training program began 3 weeks after the Ravager attack. The medical bay had been redesigned to accommodate both alien technology and human techniques, creating a space where two completely different approaches to healing could work together. Vextar watched nervously as senior human medic Kim Won-ho prepared to teach alien doctors about trauma medicine. The alien students included representatives from 6 different species, all trained in advanced peaceful medicine. None of them had ever treated a conscious patient during major surgery. The first lesson was basic wound treatment using human methods. Kim Won-ho had volunteered patient Jang Min-ha, who needed shrapnel removed from his shoulder. Under normal circumstances, the aliens would have sedated him completely and used precision instruments in perfect, sterile conditions. Instead, Kim Won-ho prepared to operate while Jang Min-ha remained awake and alert. The human patient sat calmly on the treatment table, making jokes and asking about the tactical situation outside. The alien stared in amazement as he showed no fear about the upcoming procedure. Now watch carefully, Kim Won-ho said to his alien students. The patient stays conscious so he can tell us if we hit nerves or blood vessels that our instruments cannot detect. He becomes our partner in the surgery, not a passive recipient. Br. Kelrun stepped forward to attempt the procedure. His hands shook as he approached the conscious patient. Every instinct told him that aware patients were dangerous and unpredictable. But Jang Min-ha smiled and offered encouragement. Just take your time, Doc, the human said. I have been through this before. Your forearms will make it easier than when human medics do it. The operation began with Dr. Kelrun using alien precision tools while the patient provided constant feedback about what he was feeling. Jang Min-ha commented on the doctor's technique and even made suggestions about better angles of approach. This is incredible, Jang Min-ha said as the alien doctor worked. I can feel exactly what you are doing and tell you if something is wrong. Human doctors have to guess about nerve damage, but with your extra arms you can avoid it completely. The Alien medical students took turns practicing on willing human patients. Each procedure became a learning experience for both species. The humans discovered that alien precision tools could accomplish surgeries that were impossible with human equipment. Meanwhile, humans taught aliens about working under pressure. Time limits were imposed on procedures to simulate battlefield conditions. The aliens learned to make quick decisions and work efficiently when perfect conditions were not available. Soldier Shin Yuna volunteered for alien regeneration therapy to regrow an eye she had lost in battle. The treatment was amazing to humans who were used to permanent disabilities. The aliens could regrow organs, repair genetic damage, and eliminate scars. Completel Yuna watched in fascination as her new eye developed over the course of several hours. What would have taken months of human treatment was completed in a single day. The regeneration technology was like magic to species that had always accepted permanent injuries, but the humans were not entirely impressed with perfect healing. They discovered that alien medicine focused on returning patients to original condition rather than improving their capabilities. Human medicine sometimes made patients stronger than they had been before injury. The exchange program revealed fundamental differences in medical philosophy. Alien treatments eliminated all evidence of trauma, while human treatments incorporated lessons learned from injury. The aliens valued perfection, while humans valued function and experience. Bishul, the jellyfish nurse, learned human emergency procedures and discovered that speed was often more important than precision. She practiced treating multiple patients quickly rather than giving perfect care to single individuals. The combination of approaches produced breakthrough innovations. Alien precision guided by human speed created treatments that were both perfect and practical. Emergency procedures that maintained consciousness while providing alien-level healing became possible. Vextar found himself learning human surgical techniques that seemed impossible with only 2 arms. But human medics showed him how to coordinate all 4 arms for procedures that no human could perform. The collaboration produced capabilities that neither species possessed alone. The training sessions became both educational and entertaining as cultural differences created unexpected situations. Alien students struggled to maintain composure while human patients critiqued their technique. Some aliens found conscious patients distracting, while others discovered they preferred the feedback. Human medic Song Minseok taught aliens about field medicine using equipment that could be carried into combat. The aliens were amazed by the efficiency of human medical kits that contained solutions to dozens of different emergency situations. The humans learned to use alien diagnostic equipment that could identify problems invisible to human senses. Internal injuries that would require exploratory surgery could be mapped completely before treatment began. The precision eliminated guesswork and reduced recovery time. Both sides discovered that their medical philosophies complemented each other perfectly. Human speed and adaptability combined with alien precision and technology created treatments that were superior to either approach alone. The exchange program attracted attention from medical facilities throughout the galaxy. Other species wanted to learn from the human-alien collaboration. Requests arrived daily for training opportunities and technology sharing. Agreements. Kim Min-ho established standardized teaching procedures that could be used to train medics from any species. The courses combined human techniques with alien technology, creating hybrid approaches that worked under any conditions. Students learned to treat patients who remained conscious and mobile throughout procedures. They practiced emergency medicine that prioritized speed over comfort and developed techniques that worked without perfect equipment or conditions. The most successful innovation was rapid healing that maintained consciousness. Alien regeneration technology, guided by human techniques, produced treatments that healed perfectly while keeping patients aware and functional throughout recovery. Wounded soldiers became active participants in their own medical care, providing feedback that improved treatment outcomes. The medical bay filled with conversations between doctors and patients working together to achieve optimal healing. The training program expanded beyond the original medical ship. Other vessels requested similar programs, and the exchange format was adopted throughout the fleet. Medical techniques that had been species-specific became universal tools available to everyone. Vexter found himself teaching human techniques to alien students while learning human psychology and culture. The exchange had become more than medical training. It was a complete sharing of survival knowledge and wisdom. By the end of the first training cycle, both sides had revolutionized their medical practices. Alien doctors could work under combat conditions while human medics had access to regeneration technology that eliminated permanent disabilities. The success of the program proved that different approaches to healing could strengthen each other rather than compete. The galaxy had gained medical capabilities that neither species could have developed alone. Through their collaboration and mutual learning, the final test of the human-alien medical collaboration came when the main Ravager fleet discovered their location. The enemy had been tracking the medical ship for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. They wanted to destroy the new medical techniques before they could spread throughout the galaxy. Vexstar was working alongside human medic Song Minsiak when the alarm sounded again, but this time was different. The medical bay was ready and both species knew how to work together. Under combat conditions, the training had prepared them for exactly this situation. The Ravager attack was massive, with dozens of ships approaching from multiple directions. They had brought their entire invasion fleet to eliminate what they saw as a dangerous threat to their conquest plans. The medical collaboration had become too effective to ignore. Captain Nam Jayan, who had recovered from his spine surgery, was now commanding the defense of the medical bay. His tactical knowledge combined with alien technology created defensive systems that neither species could have built alone. The wounded from both species prepared to fight together using techniques they had learned during the training program. Alien precision weapons were operated by humans with combat experience, while alien medics treated human soldiers using hybrid healing methods. Li Minji, whose burns had been healed using combined techniques, was now coordinating defensive positions. Her recovery had been faster and more complete than either species could have achieved alone. She represented the success of their collaboration. The first wave of Ravager boarding pods hit the ship and found defenders ready for them. The medical bay had been transformed into a fortress that combined alien technology with human tactical knowledge. Every position was optimized for maximum effectiveness. Vector found himself treating wounded defenders while under fire using techniques that would have been impossible before the training program. He applied human field medicine skills with alien precision tools, saving lives that would have been lost under the old methods. Human soldiers received immediate alien healing, followed by human techniques that kept them fighting at peak effectiveness. The combination proved devastating to Ravager forces, who expected to face either primitive humans or peaceful aliens. The battle became a demonstration of how two medical philosophies could work together perfectly. Wounded defenders were treated quickly and returned to combat faster than either species could have managed alone. The medical bay became a production line for healthy warriors. Song Minsiak saved alien medic Kelter using battlefield techniques he had learned from humans. The alien had been critically wounded, but Song Minsiak treated him while moving through combat zones, something that would have been impossible with traditional alien medicine. Kelter returned the favor by using alien regeneration technology to heal human commander Park Haijin, whose injuries would have been fatal under human medical care. The battlefield became a teaching hospital where both species learned from each other. The Ravagers had expected to fight either humans or aliens, not a hybrid force that combined the best of both species. Their tactics were designed for predictable enemies, but the medical collaboration had created something completely new. Wounded humans fought with alien-enhanced healing that eliminated pain and accelerated recovery. Injured aliens maintained consciousness and mobility using human techniques that kept them functional despite severe trauma. The combination was beyond Ravager understanding. The defense of the medical bay became legendary, as wounded defenders repeatedly returned to combat after receiving combined treatment. Soldiers, who should have been disabled instead, became more dangerous than they had been before injury. Vexter realized that they had created something revolutionary. During the battle, the medical techniques developed through their collaboration were not just healing methods, they were force multipliers that made every defender more effective. The tide of battle turned when Ravager forces discovered that destroying the medical bay was impossible. The defenders became stronger as they were wounded rather than weaker. The more damage the attackers inflicted, the more determined the resistance became human resilience enhanced by alien technology proved unstoppable. Soldiers with terrible wounds continued fighting with perfect accuracy and unlimited endurance. The medical bay had become a fortress that generated its own defenders, the final Ravager. Assault failed when their forces realized they were fighting enemies that could not be defeated through conventional means. Every wounded defender was quickly healed and returned to combat with enhanced capabilities. The Ravager fleet retreated in confusion, unable to understand how a medical facility had become an impregnable fortress. They had never encountered defenders who became more dangerous when wounded rather than less. The victory celebration was quiet and professional as both species assessed what they had accomplished together. The medical bay had not just survived the attack, it had demonstrated the power of interspecies cooperation. Vexter and Songmesiak worked together to treat the wounded from the battle using techniques that neither species could have developed alone. Their collaboration had created medical capabilities that revolutionized healing throughout the galaxy. The success of the defense led to immediate requests from military commands throughout the coalition. They wanted to establish similar medical collaboration programs on every ship and base in the fleet. Dr. Kelram proposed the creation of the first joint human-alien medical academy where students from all species could learn combined techniques. The academy would teach both approaches to medicine and develop new innovations through continued collaboration. The medical ship became the flagship for a new approach to interspecies cooperation, one that recognized that different species could strengthen each other through sharing knowledge and techniques. Rather than competing for dominance, Vexter was appointed as the first director of interspecies medical studies with responsibility for establishing training programs throughout the galaxy. The position represented recognition that the collaboration had changed medicine forever. Human techniques that had once shocked alien medics were now standard procedures taught to students from dozens of species. The burning treatments and conscious surgery that had seemed barbaric were recognized as sophisticated survival tools. Alien regeneration technology enhanced with human techniques became available to every species in the coalition. Permanent disabilities became rare as medical capabilities expanded beyond anything previously imagined. The Medical Academy graduated its first class of interspecies trained medics who could work under any conditions with any species. Their skills represented the combination of peaceful alien medicine with human survival techniques. Years later, historians would mark the establishment of the medical collaboration as the beginning of true interspecies unity. The success proved that differences between species were strengths rather than weaknesses when properly combined. Vexter often reflected on how much had changed since the first human patients arrived. The shocking treatments that had horrified alien medics were now recognized as innovations that had saved countless lives throughout the galaxy. The medical ship continued its mission with hybrid crews that included representatives from every species in the coalition. The collaboration had evolved from emergency cooperation into permanent alliance that strengthened everyone involved. The final legacy of the program was the understanding that survival techniques developed under pressure were valuable to all species. The galaxy had learned that harsh conditions created innovations that peaceful environments could never produce. The human-alien medical collaboration became a model for cooperation in other fields, proving that different approaches to problems could be combined into solutions superior to anything either species could achieve alone.